It is 6:55, 51 degrees outside. It's time for my final thought. Now, Alabama lawmakers voted to ban virtually all abortions in the state, including for victims of rape and incest. They're sending the strictest anti-abortion law in the country to the state's Republican governor, who's expected to sign it. Now, the bill allows abortion only when necessary to save a mother's life, a standard that goes against existing federal court rulings. Those who back the new law say they don't expect it to take effect, but they're using it to set up a U.S. Supreme Court challenge of the landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling that legalized abortion nationwide. This comes on the heels of restrictive abortion laws passed in other states, such as Georgia's much talked about heartbeat bill. 16 states have passed or are working on passing bans on abortion after a doctor can detect what they call a fetal heartbeat in the womb, usually at about 6 weeks, which is before many women even know they're pregnant. With the current makeup of the Supreme Court, pro-life activists feel like now is the time to go after Roe versus Wade. Now, an abortion is an incredibly difficult decision for anybody to make, regardless of their political leanings. Laws like this affect poor and disabled women who don't have the resources to go to a state that allows abortion the same way others with money do. As a result of this law, many women will be forced to carry the babies of their rapists. The foster care system will become even more strained than it already is, and more women will die from getting illegal abortion procedures they can't receive in proper medical facilities. It's a horrible domino effect that everybody needs to think about who are truly pro-life. What are we doing to make the life easier for women we're demanding bring children into already disadvantaged circumstances? We're going to continue this conversation online. You guys have a beautiful Wednesday. Get up, DC.